Hello guys, my name is Tom Antos, and in this video I'm going to review the DaVinci Resolve Micro Panel. So what exactly is this? It's a control panel, as DaVinci calls it, or a control surface as most people would like to call it. Basically it's a surface that allows you to control certain aspects, parameters inside DaVinci Resolve while you're color grading. I've had a chance to use this over the last month while color grading various projects, and I kind of have some, both good and bad, I would say, thoughts about it that I want to share with you guys. So the first thing I like about this is that it just makes color grading feel more natural. What I mean by that is you can kind of just put your hands here on the panel, and mainly you're going to be working with these three trackballs, which correspond to the three main sort of settings in DaVinci Resolve, which is the lift, gamma, and gain. And you're just going to be able to kind of quickly adjust those settings. You can adjust the shift towards which colors you want to shift it to, while also you have these sort of turntables around here, these rings, and as you turn them, you also adjust the intensity or the luminosity of each of those settings. And why this is very important is because if you've done any color grading, you know that a lot of times you, for example, will push the colors, let's say in the gamma or in the gain, towards let's say the warmer colors, and then the lift you might be pulling them in the opposite colors to kind of offset it, so that your image doesn't look completely basically just full of one side of colors. Especially if you're kind of going for like kind of a split tone, kind of a two-tone color in your image, then that's when this is very crucial. Also, when you're just simply doing basic color balancing, when you want to make sure that your colors just look natural and well balanced, you're going to have to kind of adjust the three settings, and being able to do them at once with your hands, kind of live, while you're just paying attention to the and looking at the full screen image, it just makes it that much more accurate, I think, and just more intuitive. It just feels more natural. Versus if you wanted to do this without this panel, just using the mouse, which, by the way, you can do everything that this panel allows you to do, you can do right in DaVinci Resolve just by using your mouse and keyboard. But like I said, doing it with the mouse, adjusting especially the lift, gamma, and gain, is a little bit it's slower for one, and then the second is that it's not as intuitive, because while you're adjusting the color, let's say in the lift, your whole image gets affected, let's say in the midtones, also in the highlights, and then you have to kind of go in and then counter that in let's say in the gain, and then vice versa. Then you have to go back to the lift and adjust it again, and kind of you're going back and forth a lot. Whereas by being able to adjust all of those three settings at once, you're just working a lot quicker and a lot more intuitive. It feels just a lot more natural. So that's the biggest advantage of this panel. Another thing I love about this panel is that it just gives you a quick access to a lot of the functions. So you have buttons here, for example, whether it's the lift, gamma, and gain, you have these three buttons here on the top that allow you to quickly reset, let's say, just the RGB, or for example, just the levels under, or all of the settings. So just by clicking these buttons, you can quickly reset that. You also have knobs up here for Y lift, Y gamma, Y gain, for example, for saturation, also for contrast, or up here the pivot, which allows you to adjust where you want that contrast to happen. Midtone detail, which is something I love using. Color boost, shadows, highlights, also just overall saturation here, hue, and luma mix. And being able to have kind of these knobs that you can just directly grab and adjust, again, it just allows you to work faster, especially when you consider that a lot of these settings within DaVinci Resolve are going to be sort of hidden in other menus or other panels. So with a mouse, it just takes a few extra clicks. And so it's not as fast when you're kind of working and looking at the image. Another thing, for example, I like up here is you have presets here, or buttons that allow you to quickly grab stills, so you can kind of compare one shot to another. You can undo, redo everything you've done. You can play a still, reset things, loop, for example, a whole bunch of controls. You can also, for example, very quickly jump from full screen or kind of a normal layout in DaVinci Resolve. And what that's really good is it allows you to basically make the image full screen, or make your shot full screen, so you're not working with a tiny little view of your shot. And by having your shot go full screen, you can see basically in more detail what you're doing. And again, because now you're on full screen, normally with the mouse you would not be able to change any of the settings, because all of your other settings or your adjustments or everything is hidden. But because you have the micro panel, you can still adjust all of those key settings that kind of create your overall look. You even have buttons here, for example, the playback, stop, reverse, or next clip, previous clip, that kind of stuff. So overall, it just allows you to work faster, and that's what I would say is the next thing that I really love about this thing is, like I said, by being able to go full screen and look at your image in detail, you see exactly what's happening with your shot while you're making all these adjustments, and also by not having to switch between different menus and things like that with the mouse, you're just able to reach the kind of look that you want quicker. And because of that, it just means that you're probably going to be able to experiment more, try different looks very quickly, because like I said, you can make these adjustments very fast. If you don't like it, you can undo it or just completely reset the various settings. You can also actually reset all of the other settings up here, for example, which are controlled by any of these knobs, just by pressing down on the knobs themselves. And another thing I like about this panel is that it just requires one USB cable. It's a USB C-type cable to a USB 3 cable. And with this cable, like I said, you connect it to your computer, your laptop, and it allows you to both control like I said, the settings in DaVinci Resolve, but it also powers the panel. The panel actually has backlit buttons, so if you're working in a dark setting, which usually is something I would recommend when you're doing color grading, then it's also very easy to spot all the settings, because like I said, all the buttons are backlit. And then the last thing that I like about it is it's really solidly built. Like, I mean, really solidly built. I think you could drop this thing, or if you dropped it on somebody's head, you might even completely knock them out. It's made out of cast and machined aluminum. It's just, like I said, very well built, feels very solid, and it's a good thing because at least it feels like it's gonna last a long time. Now that actually brings me to the bad things about this panel, and the first one is just the overall size and the weight of this thing. And what I mean by that is it's massive. Like not only the thickness up here, if you look at it, like I said, it's pretty big, pretty thick. I wish they could have made it a little bit thinner, because that's one thing that I kind of found a little bit painful when I had to use this thing, where mainly basically when I had to kind of arrange the placement of this alongside my keyboard, or sometimes I would have my keyboard here and then I had the panel kind of forward, but then I felt like my hands were kind of reaching too far forward and it just wasn't that comfortable, especially when I wanted to work mainly with the panel. And I think if you're gonna get this panel, you're kind of gonna get it so that you can avoid as much as you can using the keyboard. But like I said, it's pretty big, pretty bulky, so you kind of want to have the keyboard in front of it and then have the panel. But if you want to have the panel closer to you, then that means you're usually going to have the keyboard past it, and then if in case you need to use the keyboard, it's really awkward because this thing is pretty thick. Another thing is just the sheer weight of this thing. It's pretty heavy. It's almost going to be almost 9 pounds. And so when you want to carry this thing around, and this is actually what this was designed for. That's why Blackmagic named this the micro panel, because they actually have a mini panel, which is even bigger and heavier than this, if you can believe it. And this one, they call it the micro panel. Which to me is a little bit funny, because like I said, it does not feel, there's nothing micro about it basically. And this was actually designed, or at least that's kind of what Blackmagic is aiming this at, is to be used kind of as a portable color grading panel. So they're kind of saying that they think that this will be used mainly by, let's say, colorists who are working on location, and they need to take this with them and let's say just plug it into their laptop, which, again, considering that it's almost 9 pounds, most laptops these days I think are going to weigh less than that. Not only that, but most laptops are going to be this thick. So just taking a laptop sometimes if you're traveling on a plane is problematic. But imagine now having to take something like this. Yeah, I just don't see myself, at least, actually traveling with this thing and using it as a portable color grading station. I'm also kind of disappointed with this panel because even though it has all these great shortcuts that I talked about, it doesn't have one key, I think, and the most important shortcut that you need when you're working in DaVinci Resolve, and that is the create new node shortcut. Unfortunately, this panel doesn't have it. If you upgrade to the more expensive DaVinci Resolve mini panel, which costs $3,000, that one comes with that button, but this one doesn't have it. So that means that you're still gonna have to use a mouse and a keyboard. And again, I think, you know, if you're gonna invest $1,000 in a panel, so you know you're able to work quicker and kind of avoid having to use the mouse and keyboard, I think having a button, a dedicated button to one of the most commonly used functions, which is creating a new node, because that's the way you color grade in DaVinci Resolve, and that's something you're going to be probably doing a lot throughout the day as you're working. I mean, you know, it would save you a lot of time, and it just makes sense to have that button. So I don't know why Blackmagic decided not to include that button. Maybe they're thinking people will actually spend $2,000 extra on their mini panel. I don't know, but to me that was a kind of a big letdown with this, because it is annoying. And then, like I said, because of that, you kind of always have to have the keyboard next to you, and you need to use that, because if you've ever had an experience working in DaVinci Resolve, then you know how often you're going to be going and creating new nodes and adding new nodes and things like that. So again, big disappointment with just the fact that that button is missing. Now, another thing I don't like about this is that it only works with DaVinci Resolve, which, you know, it's great that it works with it, but I also wish that you could plug it in, especially if you consider that you're gonna be paying $1,000 for this. I wish that Blackmagic made this so that I could also, in case I wanted to do some color grading, let's say in Premiere or some other program, that I could plug it in and use it with that too. But unfortunately, they do not allow that compatibility. Now that might change in the future. I don't know. We'll see. But I kind of doubt it. I think, I mean, you know, it looks like Blackmagic kind of came up with this, and they're giving away their software for free and all that stuff. And it's a great software for editing and for color grading. It's actually my go-to color grading application. But like I said, in case for some reason you don't like to use DaVinci Resolve, or maybe let's say you invest in this because right now you love using DaVinci Resolve, but let's say down the line something happens, or there's another piece of software that comes out that you like working with a little bit more, then this kind of becomes useless, because like I said, it will not work outside of DaVinci Resolve. Also, it's not plug and play as Blackmagic would like to advertise. And what I mean by that is that even though it just really requires this one USB cable, I've tried plugging this into my laptop and get it working, and it would not work. I've went in, I had to download the drivers. So that's kind of one thing, is that Windows doesn't recognize these drivers automatically, doesn't just install them for you. So on a Mac, maybe it's different, I don't know, but on Windows at least it didn't automatically recognize it. I had to download the drivers from the Blackmagic website. I installed it, and there was actually still some problems I had, some conflict in my laptop. I have no idea what it was not able to get an answer from Blackmagic about this, and so I never actually got it working on my laptop. Now I did get it working on my desktop, but like I said, I still had to go and install their application or the drivers that you get from their website. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not like a lot of other, for example, mouse or any other kind of control surfaces. A lot of them you'll just plug it into your computer and it's just going to recognize it. Now the last thing that I don't like about this panel is that the buttons don't always respond. And what I mean by that is all of these buttons up here, basically, like for example for the reset or any of these shortcuts up here, they sometimes I press them and I hear the click clearly and it just doesn't respond. What I wanted to happen doesn't happen. Yet sometimes, for example, especially with these reset buttons here, they have a nice click. Like when you click them all the way, you feel the click in there. Sometimes when I was reaching over to adjust one of these knobs up here on the top, I would by accident, just with the bottom here of my palm, press on one of the buttons and press them very lightly. But that is a huge thing, because as you see up here, these big buttons, they basically reset everything that you did on that particular setting of whether it's lift, gamma, or gain. So having these buttons up here be so sensitive in some cases, yet in other cases sometimes it just seems like it doesn't respond, is a little bit iffy. Like I said, it's I don't know whether it's this unit that I got that maybe is damaged. So I would actually want to hear from you guys, for those of you who had experience using this panel. Let me know if you had a similar experience. But like I said, that's what I've noticed is like a lot of times, like if I, for example, go to next clip, it doesn't jump to the next clip. I have to click it again. While at other times, especially these big buttons up here for resetting the settings, it seems like I just lightly tap it and it activates the button. So that's one thing that I still feel like if they're going to do an upgrade to this panel, then I hope the Blackmagic kind of upgrades this and makes the buttons a little bit more responsive, and also, but at the same time, a little bit harder to click, because I feel like they're almost too easy to click. Like you hear that click there, but I think they should take a little bit more force so that this way you don't by accident reset any of your settings. So in the end, would I recommend getting the Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve Mini or Micro Panel, which is very similar to the Mini? Would I recommend it? Well, first thing I would say is you should ask yourself, are you a really heavy and dedicated Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve user? If you use that application a lot for color grading, because that's really what this thing is for, then I would say yes, it's a great panel. Although there are maybe other panels you might also want to consider or test out first and kind of see for yourself. One of the other panels out there that I'm kind of looking forward to testing out now that I've had a chance to use this is the one from Tangent. There's different ones that they make, and they actually make one that's really small and really portable. Definitely a lot more portable than the micro panel here from Blackmagic. So I'm kind of curious to, like I said, to kind of test out that one, compare it to this panel. Now, one thing right away I can tell you that I kind of like about the Tangent panel, and I wish that the Blackmagic did with theirs, is the fact that theirs is a lot more customizable, so you can adjust and customize the buttons. Plus, it also works in various applications. So, like I said, if you ever plan to take this panel, or you might be considering using other applications for color grading, then this is probably not the investment for you. But like I said, if you love using DaVinci Resolve, and especially for color grading, and you want to be able to do it faster, quicker, more intuitive, then I think this is a great investment, because like I said, just these here 3 trackballs make all the difference in the world. But even having some of the other extra buttons and functions just speeds up your workflow, makes it more intuitive, and I think just is going to make you a better artist, because it kind of pushes the technology away. This kind of makes you not have to worry so much about the interface and these buttons and all that stuff. You kind of, after working with this, for me at least, for about a week, I became so familiar with the panel that I didn't even have to look down at the panel and see what the buttons were. I kind of just did everything by touch and feel, and this way I was able to concentrate and just look at the monitor and look at my shot and see what's actually happening with my shot. Anyways, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to get more information about the panel or where you can get the latest deals, all that stuff, as always, check the links in the description of the video, or go to my website at tomantosfilms.com. While you're there, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter so you're updated when I release other filmmaking tutorials, or for example gear reviews like this one. Anyways, that's it. I'll see you guys next time.